Giuliano writes, "Hello AMC movie crew, love the show, great part of my day, plain and simple. If Sony took a new direction with Spider-Man to get the original version with Toby Maguire and the recent version with Andrew Garfield together as a secret war, could this fix Sony's trust with the Spider-Man franchise?"
I want to address, this is an interesting question because, I mean, a lot of the Spider-Man stuff has now come back up again because of these Sony leaks, and understandably so. I first of all want to challenge this whole notion that Spider-Man needs to be fixed. Okay, I'm one of the people, look, I won't argue, even though I liked The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was, I think, pretty poor, right? Just slightly better than Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi gave us. It was one of the poorest efforts we've seen from Spider-Man. I think there was a lot of things wrong with it, and I can't argue with anybody who really hates it. Like me and Schnepp talk about it. Schnepp hated The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And he and I talk about the movie, and I cannot argue with him. Even though I kind of liked it, yep, that was wrong with it, that was wrong with it, that was wrong with it, that was wrong. There's no arguing. But I will argue with people about the first Amazing Spider-Man. I thought the first Amazing Spider-Man was great. I think it's the second best Spider-Man movie they made behind Raimi's Spider-Man 2. That's just my opinion. But we've had one, if we want to call it bad, we've had one bad film in a row. And it gets a lot, and understandably so, when you get a bad film that's disappointing, because even somebody like me who thought it was pretty good, I still was disappointed by it. I was expecting much better. And a lot of people hated it, and I understand why. And so when you're coming off a film like that so disappointed, it's understandable. The torches start getting raised, the pitchforks come out, and people are chanting, "Give it back to Marvel, give it back to Marvel, give it back to Marvel." But I want to just tell everybody, let's just take a deep breath, take a step back. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that everybody was saying the exact same thing about the X-Men universe. Right. You know, we were coming off that horrible Wolverine film, and then we had, you know, X-Men 3, and, you know, everybody's calling for it, go back to Marvel, go back to Marvel, go back to Marvel. Well, what fixed it? One good movie. As soon as they put out X-Men First Class, and everybody went, oh, wait a minute, no, this works. And then they happened to follow that up with probably the best X-Men film they've ever made, with X-Men Days of Future Past. Now nobody, it always used to be, Marvel needs to get X-Men and Spider-Man back. Nobody says X-Men anymore, because now it's working again. What do they need to do to fix the Spider-Man thing? Just make one good movie. You put out the next, whether it's Sinister Six, like you were saying, they put out Sinister Six, and it's great. It quells everything. It really does. Now, as far as the concept in here about bringing Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield, okay, first of all, Toby Maguire's 40 years old. Right. I don't care what kind of crisis universe you have, nobody wants to see a 40-year-old Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield isn't that much younger, but he is younger, and he's got a baby face. But this whole thing about Secret Wars and stuff like that, that's for the 0.001% of the comic book nerds. I don't think it will help the general movie-going audience. I think stuff like that will just confuse issues for the general movie-going audience. Comic book nerds, like those of us at the table, will get a kick out of it, but it would end with us. So I don't think that would be the right way to go. Anyway, what do you guys think about all that?
I think just as a thing, it's a very interesting idea to make that movie with Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But like you said, I think it just so reeks of desperation at this point, particularly given the circumstances of what's going on at Sony. It would just look like nothing else other than like what Christian said, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Now, having
like
said
a 23 Jump Street with Men in Black crossover? That kind of desperation?
That is so desperate. Oh, my God. It's
but, you know, I also agree with what you said about Spider-Man 2. It's like, look, I didn't think it was horrible. I actually liked the movie. And it was, if you want to put it in sports terms, it went like 8-8 or 9-7 and just missed the playoffs. So it's not a situation where you have to completely blow up that team and retool from the ground up. You still have a lot of potential here with a lot of great storylines you can tell. I think this one's too desperate.
Well, I think if they do Spider-Man 3, what they need to do is they got to get all the cooks out of the kitchen, put one chef there, and let him cook. That's it. Let's make the third movie, because Andrew Garfield is not the problem. Andrew Garfield can carry a Spider-Man film. I agree with you. I like the first one very much. I think that you can make a Spider-Man film with Andrew Garfield, get the right director, let Mark Webb do it, but let Mark Webb do it. Keep your notes away. Let him do his thing. You know, I know studios have to have notes here. It's their product, but don't overwhelm the guy. Let him do his thing. Trust him. If you hire someone, trust him. Let's see obviously what you guys are doing out there at Sony isn't working. Let's make a third film. Let's put together all the pieces. Take your time, and let's see what happens.
What stands out to me, and I think you'll agree with this, is that the issue isn't studio interference. Because listen to Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson would always get, Kevin Feige is a studio exec,
right,
and he exerts a lot of control. The difference, though, between a Kevin Feige, a Warner Brothers situation, and this, it goes back to the theme of the day. How many execs are trying to get their hands in the kitchen? You need one exec who says, no, this is what we're doing, and that's what you're doing, and then let the director go and get their notes from one person instead of a gang of 20 people all think they want to
Well, you know what happens
contribute.
also a lot of times, and again, that's to bring up my days at Warner Brothers, I saw it all the time, is that because people are hired on the desks, the executives, they feel like they have to say something. If they don't say something, they're not contributing. And sometimes you shouldn't say something if you have nothing to say that's going to help.
Kind of like me on this show. Like I feel like I should say something.
You're reading my subliminal messages at least. Thank you for that. And sometimes you need. There are certain guys you need. Like Greg Silverman's a guy at Warner Brothers. Great input. They listen to him. So there are people out there that you need the studio executives. They're creative people and they help. There's other times. Shh. That's it.
I would go with your football analogy, though. Instead of just one good movie, I think they need two. Like it's like when someone comes back the next week on a football NFL game and they win, like everyone's like, oh my God, he's back. You really need to see 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I think 2 movies in a row will do it.
But just one will help a lot.
It will help a lot, like First Class. But then you kind of hit it home with Days of Future Past.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.